Do, 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 do. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sunday. Huh? Imagine seeing us. You didn't think you'd see us on Sunday. You thought, oh, I gotta get a break from those losers for like 2 whole days. And all of a sudden, boom, here we are in your face, unshaven, unclean. Haven't even brushed my teeth today. You get the best of me and the best of everybody. Do you know why we're doing it today? Do you know why we're here today? Today is in Ukraine. It is Sundays in Ukraine here at deanblundell.com. And because of rolling blackouts, because as you may or may not be aware, Russia is buying Iranian drones to send into every part of Ukraine's infrastructure to keep these beautiful people in the dark. So rolling blackouts means one thing to us here, other than the hardship of the good people in Ukraine. It means we can't get a hold of Alex Day-Rebeckoff, our intrepid reporter. We haven't had a chance to talk to him for like 2 weeks. He's like, hey, you want to come on the show? He's like, rolling blackouts. I don't think I can make it. You want to come in? Are you okay? He's like, yes, I just saw a missile fly over my head. I'm like, can you come on? He's like, no, I can't. Rolling blackouts, Dean. We're being absolutely bombed on a daily basis by Russians using Iranian drones. Like, that's not weird enough. So what we thought we'd do is we bring the band together for a beautiful Sunday in Ukraine. Please welcome back to the program, Alex Day-Rebeckoff, ladies and gentlemen, live in Ukraine. Do. Hey, bud.
Hello. Hello, buddies.
Hello, buddy. How are you, dude? Like, Sunday what is a Sunday in Ukraine like? Like, take me through this Sunday in Ukraine. You're in Irpin. We've got the band together because this is our shot to talk to you this week and set up what's going on over there and kind of touch base and communicate back to people here. But take me through a Sunday in Ukraine. What is your Sunday in Ukraine like today? Irpin, Ukraine, to be exact.
Yeah, if you can hear me well, because I certainly have some difficulties hearing you guys. But we live in a stage of uncertainty. It's like, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
We can hear you.
Good. So it's like the routine is your everyday routine is completely broken. If you plan to do something at a certain time, you cannot do it because you never know when the electricity will be off and on again. We have some scheduled blackouts, but typically they are not going to the schedule. So I am actually expecting the next blackout within the next 20 minutes. So I can actually disappear any moment.
So you're explain these blackouts, Alex. Like you've been experiencing these blackouts, but your infrastructure is being attacked. Like, what has the last several days been like? Because the goal for Russia, obviously, is to take out infrastructure, so you guys can't. Can you hear me? You still got me there? Do. He'll come back. The goal for Russia has been, let's take out all the infrastructure. Now the entire country is at rolling blackouts because they're trying to save some of that infrastructure, right? So what has that been like? And when did they start trying to take out the infrastructure, Alex?
Actually, it started happening right after the Crimean bridge was blown up. And to remind you, it was October 8th, a memorable day, a historic day. So right after that, on October 10th, they started actually blowing up our energy and communications infrastructure. In fact, we just had spent half of the day with a friend of mine who is one of top managers in one of the biggest communications company in Ukraine. And he told us that specifically on October 10th, the Russians actually targeted the servers and the communication centers of his telecommunication company. They actually missed mostly. That's a secret, but they missed it. But in terms of energy, they started on October 10th, and they did it like on a regular basis for the past month. So now, I think 1/3 of the energy infrastructure is damaged significantly, and that's why we have those blackouts.
Yeah.
So I have a question about the drones, Alex. Do you see them? Do you hear them? and from what I was reading, it's not just Russian drone, but Ukraine has started to use drones. Well, have been for quite some time. But is it something that you guys just know about that's happening, or are they whipping around above the? Yeah, are they whipping around above you and that kind of a thing?
Well, I've never heard a drone, and those are called drones kamikaze. So the drones that fly into a specific target and then they just kill themselves and the target.
Kamikaze drones,
I've never heard it, but I know lots of people who actually heard them. They sounding like a very loud engine, and they fly with the speed of 100 miles per hour, so not very fast. So you could actually see them like a bike flying in the sky. You can follow it in the sky. Mm-hmm. And last time we actually saw the video of our policemen shooting at those drones with the automatic guns, with the rifles,
Yeah, it was funny because there's a video that you sent me of these guys, and we should bring it up, actually. There's a video you sent me of this one of the kamikaze drones being delivered to Kyiv, and all these cops are like, hey, look. And it's like, and they're shooting them down. Like that's the one incredible thing is that they're actually shooting a lot of these things down, right? Like it's like anything they have, they'll throw at it.
Yeah. Well, they're using a lot of the drone technology in Ukraine to actually combat the missiles and stuff like that. And apparently, you guys are very good at it. From what I was reading, Ukraine has been quite successful in sort of a counter attack with their drones as well. So something about the way you guys are wired, you're good at the defense side of things with the drone technology.
Have you seen some of the drone fights too, Locke? Have you seen some of? They're fucking hilarious. It's like you see, and it's always from the Ukrainian perspective because the Ukraine they put like cameras on their drones. Have you seen some of these, Alex, where like the Ukrainian drone will go and fight like a Russian drone? And it's like this midair drone fight. It's like, because I grew up with drones. We're only being owned by nerds, right? So it's like, to me, it's like this massive nerd fight in the
Star Wars. Yeah, Star Wars. Yeah, that's the war of the future. That is happening right now. Yeah, and in fact, the Russian side did not pay attention to drones before recently. And I'm reading the the Russian mill bloggers, and they're like, oh, why didn't we pay so much attention? We spent so much money on cruise missiles. Just to remind you, one cruise missile costs around $5 million, only one. And the drones are quite not expensive. The cheap Chinese drones, the simple drones that are used for reconnaissance and intelligence are like several thousands bucks, and they make a big difference. That's what we started using from day one of the war, and Russians didn't. No. But now they're changing. They started using the Iranian drones that are making a big difference. To remind you, Russia bought 2,400 of them, and several hundreds have already been used. But there's still a lot of them.
Yeah, I find it bizarre.
Sorry, go ahead, Locke.
I was just going to say quickly. I find it bizarre how much information everybody has about both sides and what they're doing. You mentioned that the drone thing is a big sort of tactical difference between how we used to fight and moving forward. I can see it being implemented even more. But the interesting thing about this war, Alex, is that just from a layman's perspective and watching it on Twitter, essentially in Canada here, it's. I think what's happening here is Ukraine is changing how wars will be fought for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. Well, that is probably unfortunate, but this is the battlefield where lots of, actually all types of weapons all types of modern weapons are used, and in many cases this is the first usage in the real life situations, not like in the mock situations. So after this war is over, and we're sure we will win, everybody knows that, the experience, the experience that Ukrainians got will be shared. It is already shared with NATO countries. Ukraine is actually already kind of a NATO country because we have the knowledge and the know-how, the expertise that is shared with other NATO countries.
Yeah. Well, it's a beta testing ground, right, for new warfare, and you're seeing that now, like everything from using chip clips to attach to drones that are attached to a grenade that fly over top of of Russian tanks and wait for the hatch to open up, and then the chip clip opens up and the grenade drops in and they fucking explode everybody inside the tank. It's like, I was talking to one of the guys, and in fact, James had one of the guys that invented the clip. He lives in Canada, that goes on those drones that people are using to be able to kind of invent a way to be able to fight back when you don't have what the other guys have, right? But speaking of which, everything's changing. Like everything is changing. This is coming fast and furious. Mayor of Kyiv telling residents to prepare for the worst. This is Mayor Vitaly Klitschko, and former boxer. You may know him as a boxer, him and his brother. The mayor of Kyiv warning the residents of Russia keep striking country's infrastructure, must be prepared to have no electricity, water, heat as temperatures drop below freezing, saying we're everything to do to avoid this, but let's be frank, our enemies are doing everything for the city to be without heat, electricity, water supply in general. And now that is, you've seen kind of the effect of that in a rolling capacity, right? But like, how are you feeling going forward into the fall, or into the winter, and what's being done in terms of being able to shore up what you have and trying to keep people, their lights on, their heat on, and their water running?
Well, first of all, Dean, I'm really impressed with how much up to date you are with the news.
Well, that's right.
With the current situation. I'm really impressed, because this is exactly what we discussed today with our friends. We actually discussed it for several hours. What are we going to do? What are the biggest concerns? What are the options? And this is what we've been discussing with my wife. We've been discussing for the past week. The idea is that, okay, now we can survive. Okay, there's no electricity for several hours. That's fine. We can do it. We actually bought some stuff. We spent several $100 for different energy supplies and all of this. But in case it is off for several days, just like Klitschko said, what are we going to do? So we are really seriously considering moving towards the west of the country, to the most western oblast, or to the south, to Odessa. Odessa is a sea city on the Black Sea. So these are the two options that we are considering in my family.
Okay, why Odessa? Because isn't there a bunch of shit going on in Odessa too?
In fact, my niece has been living there for the past 5 months. There are some bombing once in a while. There was a case when a family was killed in a shelling, but it's not like it is in Kyiv. So in Odessa, it's a lot better than in Kyiv. In fact, although seemingly it is more dangerous and stuff, but it's not. Also, we expect Kherson, this city in the south, to be liberated within the next couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that's other news.
Time to speak.
Yeah, the other news, Russian-controlled Kherson region suffers power cuts. Ukrainian forces targeted 3 power lines in the Kherson region. Russian-installed admin says Ukraine's Russian-held Nova Kakhovka Dam has been damaged by shelling by Ukrainian forces, Russian news agencies report. Now, I don't believe a fucking thing the Russian news agency reports, but I do believe you. And I also believe Ryan, when he sources information like this for us. He's the fucking best at it. Russia accuses Ukraine of terrorist act in Kherson. Ukrainian forces have targeted 3 power lines. Now, they're going after power. Ukrainians going after the same thing that they're going after for you, but they're trying to put those cats in the dark as well. Is that what I'm to understand? Yeah. And on top of it, what's going on in Kherson? Like, what's the update? Because my understanding is that Russians are pulling out stakes and running for the fucking hills as we speak.
Exactly. Out of 300,000 inhabitants of Kherson, about 80% have left. So about 60,000 are still there. But those are mostly pro-Ukrainian people who are just prepared, or those elderly people who cannot leave for whatever reason, and those who just decided they would stay. Most of others have left, but what Russians did, they have sent there those who they freshly or recently mobilized or those the new conscripts, they sent to Kherson. They have changed their clothes to civilians. They have dressed them as civilians and placed them in the apartments of civilians. So the assumption is that, well, there's kind of no Russian military there, but there are civilians or Russian military dressed as civilians. And once Ukrainians enter the city, if the Ukrainians start shooting at those civilians, that would be a big news for the Russians. Like, Ukrainians are shooting civilians, although we know that most of the civilians, if they start to attack the Ukrainians, they are actually Russians. So this is Ukrainians really do not have, and I'm sure that our intelligence knows this, and our Ukrainian army knows this. They will probably not enter the city, but they will enclose it and start liberating the south of the oblast.
Okay.
I find it interesting that they would go to that length to do that, Alex, just based on the fact that they really don't care what the optics are. They just lie their asses off anyway. I'm talking about the Russians. Why would they bother? Yeah. They're just going to say what they're going to say anyway.
They can't do anything legit. Like, Russia is that guy from your family that cut corners his whole life, never had a real fucking job, always
analogy.
Lied, always cheated
Sells
at fucking
meat out of
Monopoly.
a van.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's like
steals your toilet paper when he comes to visit at
takes an upper decker, thinks it's funny, gets drunk, hits on your wife, and then leaves your house.
Drinks
and
your
then
beer.
The next day denies it
Randy.
all. Yeah, that's what Russia.
His name's Randy.
Randy. Yeah. Russian Randy.
Just a bunch of Russian Randys. But that's like, it fits. Like the idea that they get a whole bunch of Russian conscripts who are fucking losers and absolutely not prepared to get dressed up like Ukrainians. I think even you put out a video of these fucking idiots like a couple of weeks ago, Alex. Ukraine moved into a certain part in Donetsk and took over a town. And in the bottom of this house, there were all these Russian uniforms hanging up, and they had a whole bunch of clothes trying to dress like civilians because they're such pussies. And on top of it, now being a pussy is a strategy, apparently, if you're a Russian soldier, Alex. That's apparently the strategy. Just act like a pussy. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. And plus, they are cowards. They withdrew all the elites, the paratroopers and the special forces from Kherson, and they actually sent there those newly mobilized guys who have no idea how to fight, and they're just like a herd of pigs coming to do what?
Slaughtered. To get slaughtered.
To be slaughtered for what? I mean, such a crazy thing.
So hold it. Putin has ordered every guy that's been trained and has been part of the military, paratroopers, special troops, special forces. He's ordered everybody out, and he's just sending in meat now. Is that what I'm to understand?
Yes.
So here's a question I would have for you, because all the talks about dirty bombs and small nuclear explosions and strategic nuclear stuff. Is that not a precursor to the idea that he's like, fuck, I'll just vaporize everybody in a certain area. I don't even care if it's our guys. If he's pulling out all the heavies and he's putting in all the meat.
That's always an option. He's a crazy guy, we know this. Yeah, that's always an. But I'm really happy that the U.S. Just sent the biggest in the world, the submarine, with a nuclear weapon to the Mediterranean Sea.
Oh,
probably heard this news.
I didn't.
A couple of days ago, it entered the Mediterranean Sea. So this is a great signal. There you go.
I had no idea.
They're not messing around.
The U.S. is just out in the Mediterranean swinging their dicks around at this point, going, give it a shot, fellas. See what happens. See what goes on.
It's actually called the Rider of the Apocalypse. That's the name of the sub.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
What a name.
It's and it's huge too. I'm just trying to get a picture right now.
Yeah, I want to see the Rider of the Apocalypse. They didn't send the USS Nimitz in, did they? Or the USS Rhode Island. They sent in the Rider of the fucking Apocalypse. And you know what's funny is that all three of us are laughing. I look down at Lachlan and he looks slightly concerned that a nuclear sub is in the Mediterranean.
You guys will survive.
That's it.
Rider of the Apocalypse is in the house.
Like look at the guy standing on the top of it on the left there. Like that's how big that thing is.
I can see. I can appreciate the humor of it, but it's also rather disturbing.
Well,
It
of
is.
course, anytime anybody's talking about nuclear war, that's
Well-
a little bit of cause for
Yeah,
concern.
we've been
but-
dancing
Yeah.
around it, trying
Do
not
we
to talk about it.
really-
Let's fucking put it out in the open here. If Russia uses one of those, it's over. The fucking
actually-
Knight Rider of the
What are you
apocalypse.
concerned about,
Well,
Rob?
it actually is the USS
Yeah.
Rhode Island. It's
Yeah,
just dubbed.
like
It's dubbed
yeah,
as the Rider.
Exactly. Alex is fucking in the mix. He's in the middle. He's in the target zone. And there's Lachlan and Edmonton going, "This is concerning me." And then there's Alex going, "Can you believe the Rider of the Apocalypse is in the ocean right now, waiting to fucking hammer everybody? This is great."
Yeah, it's dubbed. It is the USS Rhode Island. You had it right, Dean. It's dubbed that the Rider of the Apocalypse. It showed up in Gibraltar on November 1st, and was seen leaving that port and entering the Mediterranean Sea on yesterday. So it's capable of carrying 24 intercontinental ballistic missiles, which can engage up to targets that are 18,000 kilometers away, and has 200 nuclear warheads on it.
Yeah,
So that
you're not.
that's
fine.
yeah.
Well, I think everyone's at a point
Wait.
with Russia now where everyone's
laughing
just
at that?
sort of at the last rope, right? Like this is just
Yeah.
a sign that they and I think we're getting closer to a time where they actually start equipping Ukraine with much more firepower than they ever originally intended to. Listen, I know that the armament of Ukraine has been like they're spending billions of dollars to help in this. But what I'm talking about is I don't think we're that far away from, because Russia's just been I don't give a shit, and just the approach is just wearing on the West, I think. And I think they're at that point now where they're just like, all right, send the nuclear subs in. Let's start zipping around Ukraine with planes. I think we're at that point now where they got to send a message to Putin that it's enough. We've had enough. And again, I understand the humor of it, especially considering that you're balls deep in it and you can still laugh about it, Alex. But it is concerning, right?
For you.
I have a hard time watching this shit on the TV, and we're still getting a tremendous amount of coverage of this, and we're in the middle of the midterms here in the U.S. Right?
Yeah.
So
But it's dude,
interesting
like,
that they're
but
still
it,
focusing
I
on it.
find it interesting because Alex is like, he's still laughing. By the way, he's still laughing at you and your reaction to this. He's like, "What do you got to be worried about? Why are you so scared over there? You're downtown Edmonton. Putin's not coming for Rexall Place. Relax, everybody." But I find it fascinating only because, I mean, this is like no one ever thinks about their own selfish issues when you're under the threat of this, right? And then when you hear that there's a nuclear submarine in the bay off the coast of your country,
Crazy.
You normally we would be like, "Oh, this isn't good." He's like thrilled. Alex is like, "Yeah."
Well, I would be
shows
too.
fucking
I would be
leg.
too, because it just shows the level of importance the rest of the world is placing on this conflict. And a lot of times around the world, Alex, conflicts like this are largely ignored by the West unless they see some benefit of it financially. And that sounds like an awful fucking thing to say, but it's something that that cynicism is something we're steeped in it. Like there are atrocities around the world on a regular basis, and politics and money plays a part in the decision to actually get involved more often than not. So what's interesting about this conflict for us is we put aside that cynicism a little bit, and we're viewing this from a very different lens because everyone's taking this as serious as I think they need to. And I don't want to be so negative, but that's kind of shocking. I think that's part of the fascination we all have with this conflict. I think part of the fascination for me is that we know somebody that, like I just said, that's balls deep in this, and that we've developed this relationship with you over the last 8 months, 10 months, right? So that's fascinating to me. But then again, like, we're trying to actually help you. Whereas I don't know if, like, look what's happening in Iran. Like, there's just countless conflicts around the world that we just sit back and go, well, maybe they'll sort it out. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. We'll send you a couple of tanks. This is a very different conflict.
Everybody's
on so
involved.
many levels.
The minute that Putin made he gave the notice to airmen, the actual announcement that they were moving nuclear weapons, that becomes a world threat now. That's not just a Ukraine-Russian conflict. Like, this is now a threat to the entire world, and it's a threat to other United Nations, NATO countries that are neighboring. And that's why they're saying, okay, you want to throw it on the table, we'll whip it out and put it on the table too. And ours is bigger and probably has been maintained, unlike their shit. We see how their military stuff has been maintained. You can just imagine what their nukes are like.
Did a great job with their armored personnel carriers. I loved watching those explode as they rolled down the road. That was a lot of fun. What do you think they did with their nuclear weapons?
The only thing holding it together was the mud. And it's so you're right. Normally we kind of take a bit of a passive approach in the West, but now all cards are on the table if he's moving nukes around. And what's his face over in North Korea starting to swing his dick because he's not getting any attention. He's throwing nukes up in the air and doing test missile flights, and it's crazy. We're in it right now, and it's not going to get any better for the winter. Like, it's just going to get worse with people, with the cold, losing hydro gas supply.
Yeah,
it's a scary time right now.
Yeah, it is. The good news is that the losses are still piling up on the Russian side, not so much for the Ukrainians. Did you have a look at the latest approximate Russian losses as of November the 11th? Have you seen this, Alex?
Yeah, actually, for the past 5 days, the number of killed in actions per day has increased significantly. It used to be about 300, maybe 350 per day, but for the past 5 days, it was like 900, 700, 800, like.
Oh, did we just lose him to a rolling blackout? I think we may have lost him to the rolling blackout. That's Alex de Rebekov. Follow him on Twitter at de Rebekov. They've got rolling blackouts in Irpin. He's just outside of Kyiv in a small hamlet called Irpin, which is next to Bucha, which is where all the terrible action was. And we were just going over some of the Russian losses. Alex said we might lose him, and that did happen. Oh no, hang on. I think he's back.
He might be back.
Hey,
there he is. Okay, good.
Continue. You started at 800. Yeah, we thought we lost you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So 800, 900 per day. Before it used to be 300.
Jesus.
So in fact, I remember the day of September 6th. That's when we hit 50,000. And look at the number now. Only like 2 months passed. 2 months. In 2 months, almost 25,000 are killed in action. Yeah. That's just wild. It's a crazy number. So if we continue with the pace like this, by the new year, it would be 100,000. And those are just killed. And the wounded, the number of wounded is at least 4 or 5 times bigger. So you can imagine what number of people. And those are people.
Yeah.
Human beings. I hate them. But those are people, those are people with their families, with their mothers, wives, children. Those are people. I mean,
Well, think about that in terms of just the human cost, right? Like whether or not you like them or not, whether or not they've been told to go there or not. He has irreparably changed the lives of, if you take 75,000 troops that are now dead, exactly. And then you combine that with let's just be conservative, 4 times that amount injured, right? You're talking 250,000 people. You're talking 250,000 people. And then they've got parents, they've got brothers, they got sisters, they got loved ones, wives, kids. 250,000 people in the last 8 months, 9 months have been put through the meat grinder. And all the Ukrainian people did was say, hey, just don't do this. You're sending people to their death. Go do this. Not to mention not just the human cost. How about the cost of, like, when the war started, I heard Russia had 5,000 tanks. You've destroyed half of them. half of their tanks. You've destroyed over half of their armored personnel vehicles.
Oh, in fact, they have a lot more, but the other part.
Do we lose him again?
I think he's chopping in and chopping out.
Did we lose him again?
I think so. Yeah.
Always on, and we always lose him on like
a really good point.
A really great little piece of information.
Yeah.
Like there's
he'd put this. Oh,
go ahead.
Sorry, he put this out. Just talking about the losses during 10 years of war in Afghanistan, the USSR lost 118 airplanes. During 8 months in Ukraine, they've lost 278. So they've really upped their game when it comes to defenses, right? So
it's not even so much Linz and Locke. It's not even so much as what they've lost. It's what they've gained, because of those 2,750 tanks that they've taken out. They've actually collected something like 1,000 more. Go ahead. We stopped. Alex is back. We stopped on. Go ahead. You were saying it's not even about this. It's about something else. Go ahead.
No, I was like, you said 5,000. In fact, I read a special analytical article about how many tanks they have. Nobody knows the exact number of tanks they have, even them. But supposedly from 10,000 to 15,000, that's the real number, between 10,000 and 15,000, because they have a huge number of very old tanks from the World War II. And in fact, some of them were bought for Lend-Lease provided by the U.S. during the World War II. Can you imagine that?
Holy!
They're using those old Shermans from
yeah.
When they were Allied forces together against Germany. Yeah, it's incredible. It's just, and I mean, like if you look at the losses on the Ukrainian side, which obviously I don't know if you know those numbers, but they pale in comparison. My understanding is it's like 1 to 12. That's the ratio. Losses on the Ukrainian side to losses on the Russian side. It's like 1 for every 12 Russian losses, and that number doubles in some cases when it comes to equipment, sometimes even triples. Does that not make sense? Even more so.
Well, I heard the number 1 to 10.
Okay.
But again, we don't know how much.
Can you pick it up? Can you pick it up?
Chop, chop.
Yeah.
Can you pick it up and get closer to the 1 to 12? That's when things really start moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting too, because they've completely ignored I mean, they're throwing everything at it and they were unprepared. And I think a lot of that has to do with the numbers, right? I mean, so we've seen significant losses on the Russian side because I don't think they expected this kind of pushback from Ukraine. That just goes without saying. That's what we're all hearing when this is being reported on. They thought they were going to have this over in 2-3 days. But the thing for me that I find interesting is that they keep throwing mud at the wall at this. Like strategically, they've made a couple of adjustments, but they don't seem to really have a concern for the amount of loss that they're suffering from equipment and men. And we're getting into winter here and they're not stopping. Like it's complete madness.
Yeah.
It's complete madness to continue. I mean, weather is going to turn significantly, and who's going to benefit from that?
Ukrainians.
Probably Ukraine, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So we are going to see that number, that separation of comparative loss from equipment to men grow,
12,
right?
1 to 13, 1 to 14.
Yes.
Let's pick it up.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. Russians, they're sleeping out in the open on cots in the woods. I mean, they're sleeping on the dirt. The videos that are going around about these fucking yahoos standing in the field going, what are we doing here? Like, we have no idea what we're doing. Advantage Ukraine in the winter, correct? Like, I mean, it is all like you're on home soil. Like, you're kind of looking forward to it, aren't you? If you're part of the Ukrainian strategic objective of taking back your land, it's like, fuck, get here as fast as you can, because this is our turf. We know where everything is.
Yeah, and we are already in advantage. Just to give you a couple of examples, within the past couple of days, in the east of Ukraine, a Russian battalion tactical group of around 400 people, freshly mobilized, were sent by Russians to attack the Ukrainian front lines. They only had the automatic guns, or whatever you call them, right? The rifles, and nothing else. And they were left there without any commanders. And the people were like in the woods with just little spades, to dig the trenches. They stayed overnight there in the field. In the morning, the Ukrainian artillery actually located them and shelled them heavily, like they completely destroyed the entire group. And what happened next? The mothers and wives of those conscripts, again, those are newly mobilized men from Russia. Those the men, the women, the wives and mothers of those people went to protest, but you would never imagine what they protested against. They protested against the fact they didn't know what happened to their husbands and sons. Their protest was about the information, not against the war, not against the government that sent their men to the war, but against just the information, the lack of information. So we believe that after the authorities would come out and say, okay, your men are dead, they would go like, okay, at least we now know for sure.
Fucking bizarre.
That is so bizarre. That's what we discussed with Loch at one of the shows, that Loch was like, oh, at some point they will go protest. That's what they're protesting.
Information, not the war.
Yeah, that's it. They would go like, okay, fine. Yeah, they would probably cry, but they will actually blame Ukraine.
It's fucking bizarre.
Well, I think, and this is just me hoping, and I know, Alex, we pointed out similar things like this in the past when we've had you on. I think there has to be a point where that's a shift, where the numbers and the loss is so, and the war is perceived, gets to a point where it's perceived as completely pointless, that on some level the Russian psyche changes to shift to a, why did we do this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think we saw
Western
it here.
thinking, though, I think, like, in terms of it, like, that's again, we go back to that Western thinking, which is like every time we talk about it with Alex, we're like, is Russia catching on yet? Now that they've got 250,000 dead people and injured, maimed people just walking around, and their kids and families aren't home, and he's like, to your point, Alex, and you said this many times, you're like, it doesn't work like that. These people still think that
USSR.
Yeah,
it's like the USSR, and he was exactly the same. And it's true; it's a meat grinder. And if you think that we treat our vets over here bad, you imagine those guys going home. What kind of support they've got when they get back to they don't see it that way. It's just a body count. They just keep stacking them up. They don't care. They just keep throwing them in. And
it's bizarre, man. It's the whole. I mean,
it's Russia's Vietnam.
It is. It's Russia's. It's a great fucking explanation. Russia's Vietnam. Yeah, man. It's the same thing. It's like it doesn't, and it's not going to end anytime soon, right? Because dude is like Putin. Speaking of Putler, Putin yesterday was like, "We're going to go till we can't." Like he doesn't care. He just doesn't. He doesn't care about his own people. Doesn't care about those people. I mean, we've been through the whole gamut, right? And this ends when the Ukrainian people say it ends. That's kind of the bottom line at this point now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we discussed it today with our friends, and our dream was like, we know that there's going to be the G20 meeting in Bali soon, in a couple, 2 weeks from now, in Indonesia. So Putin actually announced that he would go, and Zelensky said that if Putin is there, he would not go. So it's either him or Zelensky. So our hope is that while Putin is in Bali, there's something happening in Russia, and probably initiated by the elites in Russia, not by the regular people. The regular people are blindless, brainless,
that's
dumb.
so sad.
Oh, your thinking is like, the common thinking is that if Putin goes to the G20 conference, that the elites in Russia, the second he leaves, they're going to go like, fuck, let's change this shit up. Let's change the locks on the Kremlin here real fast.
That'd be nice.
That is the most probable scenario. A coup.
Yeah, some sort of a coup. Because these sanctions haven't done anything really of much. Like these international sanctions haven't really touched them when it comes to troops. When it comes to, they might not have the best equipment, but they have equipment, and it just keeps coming. So obviously these sanctions from the West are not taking on, and they're not affecting him as we thought they would, because I don't think they're strong enough. But
Linz, I think the motivation behind the sanctions has always been that they are trying to change the overall thinking of the Russian people, right? Like, let's make it painful so that the Russians eventually start to restructure how they're thinking about their leadership. Because the people with money, the people with influence in Russia, as much as they're targeted by sanctions, just find ways around it. Unfortunately, they're so connected around the world that they just, and they're so used to these types of attacks from the West that they've got an infrastructure behind the scenes and dark money and the way they do business. It just changes a little bit. That's it. So I think, and again, I'm not an expert on foreign affairs, but my understanding of I'm not.
Why are you here?
My understanding is that they do these things with the expectation that eventually, if it makes it so painful for the population,
the people,
that maybe there'll be a shift and a change in leadership from the ground up. But
an uprising,
Jesus, it's not happening.
And it's optics, right? It's optics for us. Like it looks good. It looks good on us that it looks like we're doing something. When in reality, all we're doing is we're hurting them, and we're by association we hurt other nations too that are affected.
But hold it. The thing about it is, it's very EA Act-esque in terms of, and I'll explain that, Alex, really quick. We've got this emergency. So you remember the convoy that happened over here? I don't know if you remember it. It was like back in February. We were talking. A bunch of people pretended to be truckers, went and camped out in our nation's capital for like 3 weeks, acted like cocksuckers, and then left. It's just kind of this fucking thing. Anyway,
real problems.
Yeah. Some people, unlike yourself, had an issue with wearing a mask, so they decided to take a big shit in Ottawa for 3 weeks. Anyway, they triggered the Emergency Act. Now they're doing this big hearing trying to get to the bottom of it. Well, in these things, when you get unabashed information from people, right, well, that's not glossed over on social media or isn't commissioned through RT or maybe some Russian oligarch's friend who owns a newspaper, whatever, a conservative outlet, you get the truth, right? So for the past 3 weeks, we've been seeing these fucking guys who apparently were masterminds crying on stage, not knowing what words like and, to, and but mean. And you're like, oh, this was all a ruse. Like, we were all told a lie, and these people are nowhere near the masterminds or the dangerous assholes that they are. They're just fucking losers who have been able to perpetrate their loserdom over a whole group of people and look at it almost like it's a legitimate thing, right? Like, it's the perception war is more important than the actual war. But the second you take a camera and you shine that camera on the war itself, you're like, oh, I get what's happening. Putin's just a fucking bloody traitor, and he hates people, and he hates his own. And these guys have nothing. Their army's a 6, not even. It's a 3 dressed as a 10. They're all crooked. Nobody knows what's going on. They're incompetent and they're useless. And you're finding it out in real time through statistics like this, right? Where you've killed 250,000 people. You've taken out 300 helicopters. To your point, which in your tweet, which Ryan put up, if you could throw that up again, like this, these are not stories that you hear. This is the truth about how many airplanes were taken out in 10 years of war in Afghanistan, 118 during 8 months of the worst war here in Ukraine. They've lost 278. And then you're like Borat, what a success, which made me laugh. Great success. But like when the truth comes out, right, as it's starting to come out, it's a whole different conversation, right? Like that's why the perception war is so important when we talk about what's really going on and having you on to tell people what's really happening, because you get to the bottom of it. Like you get to tell people, no, I'll tell you what's really happening in Ukraine because I fucking lived here. And by the way, this is going over my house, right? You put this video up. This is a missile going over your house, if I'm not mistaken. Let's watch this. That went over your house, correct? Yeah. And that's happened many times?
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't shoot this video. It was shot by someone else. But we actually woke up and I was like, "What is it?" And it was like, "Ooh," and then in 20 seconds another one. Ooh. I opened the window. I was like, "Where is it going?" Because my windows are facing Kiev. I was assuming those are missiles flying, but actually it didn't. And then in a group chat in our apartment complex, I was like, "Did anyone see where it flew?" It turned out it was flying like this, so we couldn't see it. But it was like, if it was shot, it could fall on us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like,
yeah, and that's every day. Right?
Wild.
That's every dude. Imagine waking up to that.
No.
Imagine seeing that on an hourly basis over your house. Like, imagine seeing that.
No. Here where we live, when you see a like a military vehicle on the road that might just be driving to go get an oil change, you get nervous. You're like, oh my god, why are they out? Why is that out? Why is our military? I couldn't imagine a missile flying over my fucking head. No, thank you.
I was mad that I had to spend 3 hours in IKEA yesterday.
Well, that is war. Trying to get out of there. Sell those arrows.
I wish I would spend 3 hours in IKEA.
those arrows are terrorism.
Locke was tweeting about it, asking people if they knew how he could get out of IKEA because he was stuck in a maze next to housewares. That was his problem.
If I entered IKEA, I would hear an air raid siren. It would be closed. Or the electricity could go off. You're just like,
you'll never get out.
Cold meatballs.
Yeah.
You know what'd be the worst? Is when you and the boys are like, hey, listen, let's go out for pints. It's been 8 months. We've been bombed to shit. Let's just go out and have some drinks. And you walk into the pub and it's like, lights out, everybody, blackout time.
Oh, how about this? Actually, when the lights were on a couple of days ago, I rushed to a grocery store to get some food. Of course, there was a line of people. I stood in the line. I got to the cashier, automatic cashier desks where you do it yourself without a person. Self-service. Yeah, that's what you call it.
Yeah.
So I did it. And once I actually did the last thing that I wanted to buy, the lights were off. And I'm like, what? In the last seconds, while the power was there still on those power supply systems, I actually was able to pay. I was so happy. I was like, yeah.
Hey, I mean, think about that. Think about that response, right? Like, Locke, you're over in IKEA sweating because you're probably, I don't know, I'm just guessing a little hungover yesterday. Just guessing. Your wife's dragging you through the couch section. She's like, oh, let's go back because I think we need placemats. And you're like, God, we've been here for a fucking hour. I just want some Swedish meatballs. That's all I want. I just need to get rid of the hangover.
I had the meatballs, by the way.
Yeah, and you're like pissed off when you're paying for the meatballs. He's fucking jumping for joy because the point of sale works. Like he's like, yeah, milk. Like seriously.
Like, this is how they're doing. This is what's going on over there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like people are just they're making do with what they've got, so they can at least just get their what they need. Like it's crazy how resilient you guys are.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, as soon as someone makes me wear a mask, that's gonna piss me off.
Right?
Here, the real question is how many of those people are vaccinated, Alex? That's what I really want to ask you.
Yeah, I want to know how many people out of that dead Russian count were vaccinated.
Yeah. And here's the other question: could you put that picture up of the restaurant, the guy eating in the restaurant? Here's another question:
the cafe.
Yeah. Is he social distancing?
Yeah.
Did he show his vaccine passport?
Yeah.
To get in there?
Yeah. I mean, how does this restaurant feel about vaccine mandates? I mean, really, let's talk about the stuff that's important here. This young lady who's just trying to get groceries for the morning. Here's a question I have for her. Is she not going to mask up before she touches the watermelons? Like, let's be serious for a second.
Have you sanitized?
Is she interested in the safety of her country members or not? That's what
There better be a bottle of sanitizer in her purse.
Yeah, because that is fucking irresponsible, and I do not like that at all.
Can I bring up something before we let Alex go? Because I have a feeling we're closing in on a farewell.
By the way,
here.
when Locke does this, that's his way of saying I've got 6 cold beers in the fridge and I need to go have one immediately.
He's next to the fridge now, though.
You know what I love how he
Right
does
there.
it though, because he's like my dad. My dad does the same thing where he'd be on the phone for more than 3 minutes and go, "Listen, I'll let you go. You sound busy." You're like, "Dude, you just called me. Like I just been on the phone with you for like 3 seconds." It's like, I get it. You want to get off, Dad. Anyway, go ahead, Locke. Go ahead, Dad.
So, is that a hookah pipe behind you, Alex?
I was going to ask that too.
Yeah. No. That's an Egyptian lamp.
Yeah.
Oh,
You can
okay.
see.
Yeah.
You
To
got
smoke
it.
weed.
No. But I actually have a hookah.
Do you?
Not here. Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
We're doing that. I like
I haven't
it.
done it for a long time, by the way, since the war started, actually.
Well, listen, I'm
Thanks for
excited.
reminding.
Yeah, you got to get in there.
Bring
dude,
the
to make
hookah
it feel
pipe
good.
out.
Is it possible to get weed
Hell
in
yeah.
Ukraine? It's still illegal.
Illegally, yes, but
You can still get it, right? Let's be serious.
yeah.
Is it legal
Again,
for
you
me
got
to send you
missiles
some?
flying over your head. The last thing we need to worry about Zelensky
Dude.
is whether or not
You know what?
weed's
If I had
illegal.
missiles going over my head, I would get 8 bales of cannabis and sit in my living room with a fucking hookah pipe and not leave. I
Yeah.
would just be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you know what? I can't handle this.
It's over.
Let's just get high.
Yeah.
Alex De Rebekov is his name. He's live in Irpin, Ukraine. He's our war correspondent. And he's also a human being who's done some amazing work for the ICC. He's also a big fan of giving back. I would encourage you to go to his Twitter feed at De Rebekov and search for his Facebook account. Give him a follow and donate. There's always a way you can donate. Alex likes to give money and buy people groceries who are having a hard time doing so. They're under attack. They've got no power. They're just lucky that we're still on with you. I know you've got rolling blackouts. I don't know when it's going to end. I almost don't want to hang up. But man, it is so great to see your face, and it's great to have. You know how they have soccer Saturdays or football on Sundays? We're having Ukraine Sundays from now on, depending on your
Yeah, I
schedule.
like it.
So, really appreciate you being here, my man. And as always, Slava Ukraine, and we'll chat with you soon.
Slava
Heroin
Ukraine.
Slava, Heroin
Slava
Slava. Thank
Ukraine.
you, my friends.
We'll talk to
Have
you
a
soon.
good time.
Take
Yeah,
care,
we
pal.
will. Stay warm, stay healthy, stay focused on the task at hand, which is whooping some Russian ass.
Yeah.
That's all we want.
Pretty insane.
I told you guys what I'm going to do, by the way, right? The second
going
that,
over there?
the second
going-
Putin gets kettled by his own people, and the second this thing is done, I am booking a ticket.
Yep.
I am getting on a plane, and I'm going to Irpin, and I'm taking Alex out, and we are going to get drunk. I'll be with very, very, very drunk. You're coming. You're coming. We're all going. We're going to go for 3 to 5 days. We're going to do some sightseeing, but mostly we're just going to go and take
Just
his mind
on a
off
bender.
it. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm doing it. I've decided. I
It
decided.
has
to do
it has to be done. It has to be done.
does.
I'm all over that.
Yeah.
What
this
a
is-
good guy. Like the thing is, like, you keep bringing up perspective, and quite often we joke about our lives and our struggles and how menial they must seem to somebody that's going through that. But the thing that I find absolutely amazing when we have him on is just this energy, this light that he has, that you don't expect somebody that is watching missiles fly over his apartment building with a wife and a newborn, that they would have that, right? So it gives me hope. And again, I need to believe, I need to go to bed tonight thinking that eventually, at some point, that this conflict and the lack of success that Russia has had in Ukraine is gonna shift the psyche overall in Russia. When he did do the conscript and he threw it out there that I need 1 million people, the rumor is, and again, I don't know if there's any way of confirming anything like this, that 1 million Russians left Russia. Like, they got out of there. So it's got to be on some level. It has to be happening.
That's a fact. That's not a rumor. It's over 1 million. It's just over
Yeah.
1 million. I think closer to 1.1, 1.2. That's a fact. I mean, you had over 1 million Russian men just go, fuck this. I'm not fighting for that cock.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm not
Good.
going to be sent to my death with like a toothpick in my hand, being told to dig a trench and just hang on until we can get you some stuff. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not fighting for that cock. And
You could see,
1.2
though,
million Russians left. Canada had a massive influx, which we don't talk about. Massive influx of Russians.
we got a lot of Ukrainians.
And a ton of Ukrainians. Yeah.
Lots of Ukrainians. Yeah.
We got
Thousands.
an apartment for rent in my my new home. We got a suite, and I got a property manager, and he has recently shown to two families that were from Ukraine. One woman, I think it was last weekend, he showed the apartment. We still haven't rented it, and so she chose something else for some reason. But she is sponsored by a family or a group in Edmonton, so she's living here, and her husband is still in Ukraine. It's more difficult for men to get out of Ukraine, apparently.
Yeah.
So I mean, because they want able-bodied men there for the conflict, right? But she was able to move. There's a chance he's going to be able to make it here. And again, I'm just piecing the story based on a conversation I've had with Wally, my property manager. But he was saying that he is coming and that she's trying to find a place for the two of them to live when he gets here. So and the timeline's up in the air. It could happen next week. It could be 6 months, right? And it's interesting because I never thought of this, but that sponsorship from the Edmonton group, I think it might be a church group. I'm not positive on it.
Usually is, yeah. That's how my grandparents got here.
Yeah, and she's got no furniture, she's got nothing, right? So if they show up, he was like, a bunch of people are going to just show up at the front of your house and they're going to be loading furniture down there, right? The guy never even thought about it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, how are they going to? He's like, oh, the sponsor families get together and they donate stuff, so they'll be bringing stuff in and they do it as a group, and it's kind of interesting.
Like, you know, what
it's
it
wild.
Sounds like to me, it sounds like if you were a great supporter of Ukraine, you'd let her live there for free.
Unfortunately, old Locker does not have the financial capacity to do that.
Can't keep gates with no money. It's
I would love to be able to financially support that.
Wouldn't that be great?
That is not within my means.
I know. I
apologize to all of Ukraine.
Making fun. I was just trying to pick on the hot seat. I was trying to pick at the wound. That's all I was trying to do. But no, it stands to reason.
Thanks for hanging that guilt nugget over me for the day.
You know what? Maybe just pay for her water. That's a nice thing.
Something like that.
Maybe have Deb take her down some good food. I don't know.
You know what I was going to do? If they put her in, I even said to Wally, I'll pick up her cable. So we got an extra box in the building. Throw it down there so they can have Shaw.
That's great. 400 English channels.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't realize how important those sponsorship programs are, and they might not even know they exist. But I wouldn't even know it existed. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those. My grandparents came over here, and they were given a choice. They said it's either Chicago, Illinois, or Hamilton, Ontario. And thankfully, my grandfather picked Canada because he said even back then they weren't fans of the States. And we ended up here with a sponsor family. I was just having a conversation with my wife about them the other day, telling them some stories about how awesome, and they fled the war. It was World War II, and they got on a boat, and I have a copy of that passenger manifest, actually, of my grandparents getting on that boat with their names on it. Cool. Yeah, it's really neat. So, yeah, and that's why it's very important. So keep your eye open for Ukrainian sponsor families looking for money, because they need it right now, because people you never know. Alex might end up here one day.
Well,
a lot of
the good news about Ukrainian and white immigrants is that even the West will donate to that.
And that's it. Yeah, exactly. And that's why. And that doesn't fall on. I'm not ignorant to that. You're absolutely right.
I'm serious.
As long as we look the same. Yeah, it's too bad. Wow. It's too bad that's the way it works right now, but that's how it's always.
Because I was laughing about it. It's like Saskatchewan was like super cool with bringing in Ukrainian immigrants that had the ability to work at steel plants, but they put up a big stink and tried to pass a bill saying they didn't want any from Syria, and I'm like, there we go. Yeah. But be that as it may, where there's a need, obviously people will fill in, and it's just nice the fact that Canada is one of those multicultural. It's fucking amazing to me too, because it's like it's the one thing that a lot of people from that are really conservative are fighting against, which is being a global country, right? It's against globalism, or it's against, the idea that we don't want any more, a lot of anti-immigration people here. But you're seeing this in real
Not
time.
Not a
in
lot.
Canada? Oh, we've got
In
a lot
Canada,
of
I think
generally speaking, the conservative MO is very not real friendly to immigrants, not real friendly to immigration. Canada's traditionally a very friendly, immigrant-friendly country, and Trudeau this year, he's like, we're going to bring in 500,000 immigrants. The tweets, the subtweets that went with that announcement were fucking gross because like you've got a faction of people here that are like, fuck that, Canada's the best.
I need to believe that's a very small percentage of our population. And you know what? The thing is, I think Canadians need to pull their collective heads out of their ass with respect to immigration, because we're in a situation right now where we've coddled our children and none of them work. Like, I don't know about you, but I went to work when I was 12 years old. Your teenagers aren't taking jobs anymore. And the reason why we're going to get through this global recession is because of our immigration policies, because of the strength of our immigration policies in this country. And they come here and they take the jobs that we don't want. And guess what? They fucking succeed because they work their balls off, because we're all too fucking soft in this country.
Yeah, people don't realize, they don't realize what we would be paying for like a jar of orange juice. If it was up to us to pay somebody like us from this country minimum wage to pick the oranges, and you'd be paying $20 for a jar of orange juice. Like all that immigrant labor, and yes, it's very exploitative, but it gives with one and takes with it. It's a double-edged sword, right? So
I think we need to do a better job in this country about acceptance of the education and the experience that immigrants, when they come here, have from their other, because I don't know how many
doctors aren't ending up driving taxis,
or an Uber. Like, what do you do? Like, I remember this guy, I was in an Uber, and he's like, I was a doctor back in my home country, and I'm like, what? He goes, I'm finding it very difficult to get reaccreditation, right? And I think maybe there has been a bit of work done in that regard in the last, I think, couple of years, especially on the medical side of things, because of how difficult our medical community is dealing with, with post-COVID, right? So, and I think they just had to do it out of necessity. I mean, how many people do we have in Edmonton and Toronto and Calgary, and our biggest markets, that are driving taxis or Ubers that were educated in the country,
that are respirologists and infectious disease experts?
Jesus, put them in a hospital.
Sometimes better educated as well, and that's the worst part. Like that, sometimes their education is more advanced than some of our people, and then not just doctors. We're talking engineers, like nuclear people, like everything. It's any professional association that requires accreditation in this country should be taking a real close look at maybe retooling and
fast tracking it.
Sharpening those pencils when it comes to fast tracking an immigrant that can come in here and do the job. So
give them some kind of equivalency test, or be able to figure out exactly what this guy knows or what this woman knows and how good they are at their job, if it's compatible. If it is, and you need the extra help, put them in a tier that enables them to help, enables them to take the burden off the healthcare system, whatever the situation is, and then allow these people to work and give them money. But the problem is that we don't look at everybody the same way that comes into this country, depending on their skin color, and we give these narratives to different countries and say, like in Kenya has, like, I don't know if you know this, Kenya has the highest math score of any country in the world.
It was a Kenyan Uber driver who was a doctor. And it was about
some of the most educated human beings in the world.
Wasn't that long ago.
Can't come to Canada and be a doctor in Kenya and then be a doctor in Canada. That just never happened. Same thing with engineers. Same thing with mathematicians. Like, it's fucking bizarre. And it's because that we live in a colonial state still. Like, I mean, these are still remnants of that colonial shit. But going further, I'm not a globalist and I'm not a nationalist. I'm just a common sense guy. And I think you are too, Locke. And I think Ryan Lindley is as well. And I don't really give a fuck about the color. I don't at all. Color of anybody's skin. No. Can you contribute to the greater good? Yes. Great. Come on in. Awesome. Let's have a great time. You're now part of the fabric of what we do. But there is as you point out, and I wouldn't disagree with you, a smaller portion of this country that's like, no. I don't want anybody that looks different than me taking a job from someone that might look like me. Right. And we need to get over that as a country, because it doesn't matter where someone's from. If you've got the option to be able to
can they contribute?
Yeah, what can you contribute? And that's what leaders do. They go and find people that can contribute, find people that have skills, and they bring people into this country, and they put them in situations where they can succeed for the people of this country, right?
And it's a narrative that comes from people that have a grade 10 education that would never even be looking at those jobs twice.
Cletus
would never be, like jerk or gerbs, like
Terry.
And if you honestly think that this is still a primarily white nation, Canada, I got a test for you. Put something up on Facebook Marketplace, or go hop on a subway or the LRT or transit in any major market in this country. This is we are a multicultural country. We are, and we have been for years.
So great.
Yeah, we sold my wife's car yesterday, and we had 30, 40 people. We had 30, 40 people, and this is white guy speaking. I'd say 20 of them I couldn't pronounce their names. I had no idea where to even start, and they were all looking for a car, right?
Everybody was
and
buddy
I was
yesterday.
just like, I said to my wife, I said, man, we live in a multicultural society.
Yeah,
I mean, just try to sell a
don't
car
travel
on
in those-
Facebook Marketplace.
But we don't travel in those circles, right? Like, that's the thing, is if we're not on Facebook Marketplace, we're not in these common areas, you don't get to see how really, truly multicultural this is. And the people that are making the rules against multiculturalism, they don't hang around with those people because they don't take the subway. They don't sell things on Kijiji. They don't go out and meet people in the town square. They don't give a fuck. They have afforded themselves the opportunity to not hang out with the proletariats. That's the kind of the world we live in. And speaking of proletariats, real quick before I let you guys go, because I know it's over an hour and I know I want to go watch the Bills game. Jack Campbell looked great yesterday.
This is why, and I've been saying this out loud now for the last couple of weeks, because we honestly we played well, and it was fun watching Toronto suck, and it was even more fun poking holes at the Leafs. But the problem is when your own team starts sucking hind teat, then you have a real hard time making fun of another team. Like I was warning, Beg Milk and I were talking about this just this week. We were just talking about this, man. This is gonna hurt if they go on a slide, and there's always one just sitting in the just around the
chamber
for the Oilers. They ran into a couple of decent teams here, New Jersey and Dallas, and you know what? They both play well, and they shouldn't have lost that game on Thursday night to New Jersey. And yesterday, I don't know what it is. This team has a hard time getting up to play matinee games, and Dallas is just a well-built team, and they let them have it. They let him have it. So,
he's got a save percentage of 8.81. Like during the season,
he is awful right now. He's going to lose that starting spot. I think he's still considered the number one goalie in town, but I'm telling you, Skinner has way better numbers than Jack Campbell.
I know.
I
just think it's funny because like the second you guys signed him, you were like pimping him. You don't know what you're doing. There's a reason why the Toronto Maple Leafs didn't want to sign him, because I think they want to win, despite the fact that they kind of haven't looked like it for the first couple months of the season or couple weeks of the season. But like, there's a reason that we didn't re-sign him. And what you saw last night where he tried to catch one and he's like, then he went in the net and he's looking at his glove like, what happened?
Where is it?
What happened? I should have been able to caught that. I love how Oiler Twitter is just like Leaf Twitter. Someone posted this. Jack Campbell in post-game interview. When Ken offered me the contract in July, I was glad to take it. I'm living the dream, getting paid $5 million to allow a goal every 5 shots and apologize every game. You can't make this stuff up. Jack Campbell on his performance. And the sad part is he's the nicest guy. Yeah, it is totally fake, but it made me laugh.
Okay.
You thought that was
Did
real?
Did Costa make that? Post-game interview.
When Ken offered me the contract in July, I was glad to take it. I'm living the dream, getting paid $5 million to allow a goal every 5 shots and apologize after every game. You can't make this stuff up.
You know what's funny is the thing is, if you talk to an Oilers fan, we haven't sorted out our goaltending issues for years. We continue. And the funny thing is soon, for whatever reason, goaltenders, they don't perform well here. And what happens is they'll spend a couple of years, they'll get run out of town, and then they'll go play for Minnesota, and they'll completely fucking stand on their heads. They'll let 2 goals in 14 games. And then we're all sitting there watching, like Dubnyk, or it doesn't matter. Just pick. We got like countless examples of that in this city. So at some point, you'll be watching Jack Campbell play in Nashville and be a complete brick wall. You know what I mean? Like, it's just gonna, because it'll last a year, maybe 2 years. They'll run him out of town, and then he'll go stand on his head somewhere else, and we'll be paying half his contract in another market. That's the other beautiful thing, right?
Welcome to being a Maple Leaf fan.
And we'll be chewing on that. That'll be chewing on cap space too.
Yeah, but dude, welcome to being a Maple Leaf fan. It's nice that we've let our disease bleed into Alberta. That's the best. Congratulations.
So that
Hang on.
Yeah,
clarify that for me. Does that, so if they are still like under, if they're still considered under a contract and they're outside, that does count against cap?
I am not
salary?
getting into a sports donkey conversation with you because
and I'll be able to answer that. I wasn't paying attention.
Like, if there was, so if somebody leaves and they're still and they leave early and they're still, does that
Depends on how they leave. Depends on the contract. If they're told to leave, if they're like, you got to go, then they just put them on LTIR and they'll write it off below the numbers and they'll take that off the contract.
Okay.
It'll come off their cap to some extent.
That's what I mean.
If
the cap.
If they waive him, it's a portion of it. I can't remember what the percentage is, 75%, 50% stays on the cap. But you're on the hook for financially all of it. So let's say Jack Campbell continues to play at this alarmingly shit rate. Right. And by the end of the year, they're like, we got to do something. They got one of two choices. They're going to let him go, or invent an injury. This is what the Leafs do so well. Invent this injury and go, got to put you on long-term injured reserve and take advantage of your cap space, and you can't play anymore. Hello, Joffrey Lupul. That's what they did to him, where they told him he had a back injury that precluded him from ever playing hockey again. And he's like, what are you talking about? It's like, sorry. And they're like, no, you're just but really, that was their way of saying, you're a douchebag and a washed-up NHLer, and we don't want you around.
No shit.
Yeah, so they paid him, but got the cap space back, and then off he goes. And the Leafs have been great at LTIR. Like, they've been really good. So they will actually go out and get guys like, let's say, Chris Pronger, or like a dead contract of a player. That's a player that retired. They'll take that on and pay that salary so they can get $7.5 million in relief. So they could, because it's just real money to the Leafs. They don't give two fucks. They got billions in the bank. They don't care. So they actually pay for extra cap space by taking on players who will never play for them again. So that's how that works.
It's weird math. It's weird.
They can
math.
do that.
It's hard.
They can call me. I can always put my name in. If they want to give me some money, I'm not going to play. You go ahead, no problem. I'll take.
I've had friends that played for the team, and they would be healthy scratches or get put on injured reserve. Like, that's how I notice them. And they're like, and I'm like, dude, you're living your best life. Like, if you're a healthy scratch, you eat chicken fingers in the press box, big deal. And he's like,
shit,
dude, I want to play. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's that.
Yeah, that too. Oh yeah, that.
There's a couple of guys in radio for whatever reason. There's one in Alberta, and I won't mention his name, but that guy has literally been paid more money to not be on a mic than he has being on a damn mic. And every time he flips to another station and ends up sitting at home for 6 months or whatever, I'm like, I'll say
sounds like he needs a podcast with us.
This dick is making bank, and he's traveling around, and we've done the math. I'm like, literally in the last 10 years, has he worked 5? I don't think he has. Drives me crazy. That's never happened in my career. Never have I been paid to sit at home and just sit there like an asshole waiting for my job to start. It's never happened. Yeah, I know. It drives me crazy when I see guys doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I have to actually work for my money.
Where you sit there for like a month, and then like at a certain day in the month, you get tens of thousands of dollars just rammed into your account. It sucks.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And you slept in.
Yeah, it's terrible. No, dude, I'm with you. But I get it. Like, these guys want purpose. Anyway, I just wanted to say congrats on signing Jack Campbell, because he's looked great.
He has just looked like a giant turd. Like I said last
he would have these unbelievably good games here, and they'd talk to him after in a presser, be like, "Yeah, I was just happy to play." He would have a game where he wouldn't play his best, but still serviceable, and they'd win. And he'd talk the same way he's talking now. And I want to play this for you. This guy, you need to get this guy a head coach because that's what he needs more than anything. Because this guy shits on himself more than any player in the NHL. Let's watch this.
Maybe just a thought on the way it ended up going tonight, Jack. Obviously, a number of goals scored there. Just how do you think it went for you?
Kind of like it's gone all year for me personally. I just haven't brought my best, and frankly, it's just been pathetic the way I've been playing. So, I owe it to this team to bring my A game, and they haven't seen it yet. So I'm going to just keep working hard, and I'm going to get through this and be there for the guys. But they've been playing great.
Is there a common denominator or something you're finding that clearly needs to get better that you think is right there for you?
Yeah, just keeping pucks out of the net. I expect to do that at a very high level, and I haven't done that yet.
Two things. There was a picture that made it look like that puck on the long shot went through your glove. I assume it didn't go through your gloves. Can you tell us what happened there? Did it hit your glove or did it go through? What happened?
Yeah, threw it, over it, under it. I don't know how it went in, but it went in, and, it's not good enough, so it went in.
There's been a lot of sort of unlucky goals for you this year. I'd say the Robertson one hits the post, hits your back, goes in the net. When you consistently get unlucky goals, does that just tell you you're not playing well enough, or what does it tell you?
It went in, so it just tells me I got to stop it, So just keep working hard, and I'm going to bring my best here, and the boys deserve it, and I can't wait to show them.
I think getting on the road is a good thing for you. Just maybe you played a lot of games at home, and this could be a chance to kind of reset a little bit. Do you think? Yeah,
just tomorrow's a new day, and I'm going to get back to work, and I expect to play at a certain standard. I haven't done that yet, so I'm going to do that.
Do you know what I like about Edmonton? Other than the beautiful scenery and how clean downtown is?
Their sports reporters are kind of nice.
No, their sports reporters are allowed to ask real questions.
Real questions.
That was so refreshing.
But they're nice about it.
Speck.
Yeah.
Speck and Schauger.
Not everybody's nice about it. I think there's a couple guys who aren't. But
I think
those
you're
are real
asking
questions.
Nicely because the guy's on the verge of crying.
Tears. Yeah, As soon as I leave here, my dad's gonna phone and he's gonna give me shit for 10 fucking minutes straight, calling me a loser.
Yeah,
that kid's got some issues.
I don't know.
upstairs,
That guy
you're right.
didn't need a press conference. He needs a hug.
Yeah, somebody should have held his hand while they were talking to him. Maybe.
Good Lord.
Anyway, what are you guys doing for the rest of the day? It's Sunday. Bills are on. I'm going to go watch that. You all right? See you
Yeah, it's
tomorrow
gonna be
at
on in the
3.
background.
All right. I'm going to go get
I
some,
have to. This is going to make you guys laugh, but I have
Maybe.
to figure out how to hook up a backup power supply.
That's
like
never happening.
Battery backup.
That'll
power
never happen.
supply to
Don't
my
do it.
sub pump.
Don't do it. Don't
It's
do
in a
it.
box.
Call somebody, please.
Yeah.
There's going to be some anger.
Have you seen
I'm
you?
gonna yell.
Have you watched you try
met
to
you?
figure out something with wires before? Have you seen you?
Listen, I don't
No,
need
I won't
you guys.
listen. I've been listening
Listen,
to you,
I'm going to
dude.
start
We're on
Jack
you-
Campbelling you guys.
Do you want us to pull up the
come
video
on
of
this
it just before
podcast
we got on this
purposely
show
mailing
today?
Mailing it in?
You guys
Purposely
are
mailing it in?
supposed to give me some kind of like you're supposed to pump me up and make me think I can do it. And then I start a fire, and then there's some comedy and some content from that.
Yeah. No. You know what? Should we just replay what the
God
green room
damn.
footage from today?
Do you have it?
I'm sure we can grab it, but yeah, that's
You dicks.
Yeah. You know what? Let me just, before we go, you do whatever you want with your sump pump backup generator. I don't give a shit.
It's going to
Let
happen.
me just point out what happened before we, as
Doing
Ryan pointed out, what happened to start the show. We have Alex on doing rolling blackouts. He can't eat, can't drink. He's happy. He's smiling. He's just looking for an outlet. He's trying to talk. We finally sync up. The first 8 minutes of us actually getting on before we hit was Lachlan
so
yelling
frustrated
at
with this
everybody,
goddamn
including
use.
this
All of
guy
us.
in the middle of a war,
yeah.
about this goddamn delay that comes with the audio, and his audio sucks, and he's so sick of the audio. And then we've got a guy literally
because I know how this plays out.
recording cruise missiles going over the top of his house, and he's like, "Guys, I only got 20 minutes." And you're like, "That's great, but let me tell you about this fucking microphone that won't work at the same level
I
every
haven't
fucking
said
day,
anything
and
about
the
it
delay
for a
on
minute.
the fucking camera.
It's not
It was
that.
the best.
It's that you, Dean, are on delay for me. You're 5 seconds off, and it's been going on for like a month. and it drives me insane. I can't pay any attention to. It's so hard to do this.
Is it
pod
happening right
with-
now?
Yeah, it's happened the whole
really?
day. It happens every day. It's been
So you got to
happening
wait
for
5
about a
seconds
month.
to respond to me.
No, you're literally your
The
mouth
audio's
is off.
in,
Your
the audio's
audio
in
is
sync,
off.
but your mouth is off.
We got to fix
Yeah,
that. Then.
your
Okay,
video,
we'll fix it.
your video and your audio are not in sync. So, and I think the audio is behind your video, or vice
Maybe we
versa.
put you on delay because we're afraid
And
of what
it's-
you're going to say.
The
Yeah.
thing is, here's the other thing.
Remember when he said
The thing
those
is,
words that one time?
it's never any other guest. Lynn's is always perfect. Alex is in fucking Ukraine with black. That's why I got so annoyed this morning. Because when I tuned in, you were on delay, and Alex is in Ukraine, running on a diesel generator that's plugged into the ESO 4 blocks away. He's got Sputnik fucking Wi-Fi, and I got him, and he's fine. I can hear him and see him, and he's in perfect sync, and I can't fucking see you. Like, I can't pay any attention to you. That's
know
why
what
I
to
got
tell
so
you.
mad this morning when I tuned in. I'm like, oh my God. Alex is fucking perfect. And you
Just before you got on to, he's like, guys, I don't know if I have more than 20 minutes. Can we start quick? And I'm like, you betcha. As soon as Locke gets here, we'll start. You flip on, you're like, guys, how, and then you just lose it. And I fucking started dying laughing. I'm like, and I didn't want to say anything because Alex literally just finished going, I'm being bombed into oblivion right now. Can you help me by going really fast? And
The
Lachlan's
light's
like,
not the light.
hang
Come
on,
on.
everybody. I got to tell you about this wire I got here that's not worth it. For 9 minutes. I loved it. Dude, I don't ever fucking change. I get it. It's very frustrating. Plus you're
It is.
OCD, right? So it's like
Yeah.
if you're like,
That's
and
a
I
big
am
part.
too, and if you're like, this isn't working out and things aren't in place, I get it. I get the frustration. I just think
I
it's
had a
humorous.
car when I was a kid and it started causing me problems.
Maybe it's
I gave it
Edmonton.
away. I gave it away. I was in the bar
Get this out of
and I
my
was
life.
so mad. It was a Sunfire or whatever, Pontiac, piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I was in the bar and I was drinking in the bar because I was mad that the car was causing me problems. And I think it was an alternator. Or so. It doesn't even matter what it was. I actually gave it to the bartender for the tab that night, which was a healthy tab. I gave him the keys. Yeah, I took my
Sips for
plate off
slips.
and I literally walked home and left my car in the parking lot of the High Arrow parking lot because I was so angry at it.
That's a Mike Tyson move too.
Yeah.
Like
It really is.
that's not a move that a guy makes when he doesn't have any money. Like you didn't have any money back then. So that just goes to show how incredibly fucking annoyed you get by things that don't work.
You gotta
and
work.
dude, I gotta tell you, I'm the exact same way. I'm the exact same guy. I've never given a car to some guy because it was just pissing me off. Like
Bartender.
Mike Tyson did in the Lincoln Tunnel where he's driving his fucking Maybach through there and he got in a car accident. And this is fucking one of the great stories. Is like you and him are the same. And the cops show up and he's like, I gotta go. And they're like,
I'm too busy
"Where you
for
going?"
this.
And he's like, I don't know, but here's the you can have it. And give him like a $800,000 Maybach right there. Here, fuck, I don't want it. I don't need it.
I'm too
anymore.
busy for this.
Yeah, that's you. That's you. You're Mike Tyson. Anyway, thanks for doing this, dude.
So
Thanks
good
for
luck
hopping
with your
on
electrical
Sunday.
problems today. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Keep us
It's
posted.
not an
please.
electrical problem. The somebody
It will
told
be.
me I should get a backup battery power
for
thing.
some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the power goes out. So that's going to be frustrating. I should videotape this.
Watch it.
You
I
should.
really should. You should
Live
You
stream
should
it.
Videotape. You should live stream your frustration. Watch a YouTube video. That's how I do things. Just go watch a YouTube video on it and then go do it, and you'll be able to
Fake
figure
it
out.
till you make it.
I might.
That's right.
Flood your house.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Good
All
to
right,
see you.
guys. Good
See
to
you
see you.
tomorrow.
I'm glad we did this today. I missed.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
I missed Alex, and I've been
Yeah, me
thinking a
too.
lot about him lately with all the craziness going on over there. So that was a good day. All right.
Yep, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Lachlan Cross, 957 Cruise FM in Edmonton is where you can find him.
Take
Tomorrow
care.
morning, host of the Locker Room. See you later, bud.
Mhm.
And at Lachlan Cross on Twitter. Also, Ryan Lindley from the Lins Report. Download his podcast, subscribe anywhere you find podcasts, and of course, follow him on Twitter as well at Ryan Lindley. Thanks for doing this, dude, and thanks for taking care of those assets. Those are good ones.
Yeah, of course, man. That was great.
Appreciate
It was
all
good
your
to see Alex. I was glad I got the opportunity to say hey to him today. And
Yeah, it was awesome. Appreciate it, dude. We'll talk to you soon.
take care.
All right. There you go. Ryan Lindley, ladies and gentlemen. Lins, Locke, Alex. That was it. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Don't forget, you can get everything we do at deanblundell.com. And a big special thank you to our friends at Cantork. What is Cantork, you may be asking? They're a new partner here at deanblundell.com. Cantork is a company that makes tools that you can only dream about. Why do they make tools you only dream about? Because they make specialized tools. They're a tool and die company is what they are. But for real solutions and people who want industrial size, rugged, hardworking, beautiful torque wrenches. As Canada's leading industrial tool experts, they offer the very best in sales, service, rental, and calibration, maintenance, and custom fabrication of industrial torque tools. If you work in a place that requires industrial torque wrenches, torque tools, and you're like, man, none of this stuff works, these are your people. Or if you have maintenance issues, these are your people. If you're looking for solutions when it comes to tooling, go to cantork.com today and get in touch with my friend Colin Livingston and his group. They can help. They are the best in the world, and they brought everything back to Canada so they could do so. Great Canadian company, good Canadian people, cantork.com. Thanks to kivlaw.ca for making this possible as well. If you're looking for a great defense attorney, if you're in Southern Ontario or up against it legally, there's only one call you need to make. There's only one email you need to send. That's kivlaw.ca. Send it to robert@kivlaw.ca. Rob Kivlikin is your answer to anything that you're going through in terms of legal obligation to a situation that you need to get on top of. His team of attorneys will make sure not only that you get out of trouble, but that you stay out of trouble. And they not only give you the best advice when it comes to keeping you legally free, they'll fight like crazy on your behalf to do so. So make sure you call my friend Rob Kivlikin, kivlaw.ca, by sending him an email, robert@kivlaw.ca today. Also, thanks to our guys over at Ed's Fine Imports for making this possible. Ed's Fine Imports makes Gitch, luxury branded underwear, boxer briefs, pouch in the front. You can't miss with these either. Swear to God. Guaranteed. The only underwear you'll ever buy again if you buy one pair. And if you buy 3 pairs, they'll send you a pair for free when you use promo code GITCH3. Go to edsfineimports.com. GITCH3 is your promo code when you check out. Put that in. They'll send you a free pair of underwear. Massive online store for clothing. Men and boys specifically. Go to edsfineimports.com. Check them out today. And last but not least, Easy Auto Financial. Awesome. Just an incredible group of people. They started helping people get free financing and then doing all the legwork for their car and their purchase. They're incredibly well tuned into what you need to buy a car, depending on your credit rating, too. They don't even care. They're ninjas when it comes to getting you financing, and even better when it comes to getting you a great rate and not making you pay for that privilege either. That's right. Free financing, and it is a turnkey obligation when you use easyautofinancial.ca. Good people that get you financing. Doesn't matter what your credit rating looks like. And if you got a great one, even better. Super simple. Use easyautofinancial.today. easyautofinancial.ca today. There, I got that one up. Have a great day, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Thanks to Alex for joining us today as well. And we will see you tomorrow, 3 o'clock, right here